and a weekly discussion about all things guitar building and some random tangents as well, featuring members of the Guitar Builders Collective from all around the world. The Guitar Builders Collective is a like-minded group of individuals that have come together to share their experiences, knowledge and inspiration for guitar building. Each week you can join us in the live YouTube chat or catch up at a later point. It's also available as audio where you'll miss out on seeing our lovely faces and some of the visuals we share along the way. You can also find the Guitar Builders Collective via our forum, over on Instagram where we share images of members' builds. We've got a thriving Facebook group, and we do hope that no matter what your experience and knowledge is, you'll become a welcome member of this community too.
Great. Hello, people. Welcome.
Hello there. Hi there.
Hi. Welcome. So we've got some people in the live stream on YouTube, and anyone watching on YouTube, you'll see some familiar faces here, plus a guest who I'll introduce in a moment. But as you know from last week, we've started doing it as an audio podcast as well. So I'll just do a quick intro to everyone that's here. So we know I'm Daniel from Devil & Sons Guitars, and over at that end is Dave from Footstep Guitars, who, like me, we're in the UK. It's our evening here at the moment. And then down in the middle, I can't work out the corner there, is Corey from Saul Goode over in Australia, where it looks quite cold.
It's 4 degrees.
Wow. And then we've got our American contingent, Scott from Bonehead Guitars in the corner. Yeah. Mark next to me. Mark Gutierrez. And then our guest today is Dan right below me. Welcome, Dan. Dan from Guns and Guitars.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. And I really appreciate you guys rearranging the schedule to work around my availability today. So that's super helpful. I feel super honored, even that you would ask me to be on your guys' show, and really super honored that you guys would just figure out how to make it work time-wise. So really appreciate it. I know it's pretty late for some of you guys, or pretty early for some of you guys. So, and
it always is.
Yeah. Well, Corey, it's tomorrow, just to confuse us all. It's Friday where Corey is. But honestly, Dan, it's a pleasure. If you don't know, which you might not know, and also if people are listening for the first time on the audio, we're a group of people that initially came together because of the Great Guitar Build-Off, of which you were part of a couple of years ago. Actually, were you part of it twice, or just two years?
Yeah, I did two. I did 1 year, and then I took a year off, and then I did another year, and now it's not a thing anymore, I think. So.
No.
but it was what brought us together, and a few months ago, we were asking the live audience and people leaving the comments if there was any guests that they really wanted to bring on, and your name came up, and Corey told us a bit about his collaboration with you a while back. So it'd be great to hear about that in a moment as well.
Sure.
But what I thought might be good, if you don't mind, just as a sort of quick intro, is just to find out a bit about how you got into guitars and guitar building. Okay.
It's a long story, but I'll try to give you like a Cliff's Notes version of it. But the bottom line is, I started playing at a really young age, and let's see, I'm trying to think, probably about 12 years old is probably when I started. Let me back up even further. 4 years old, I started playing piano, and I picked it up really quickly. My parents really liked that I was doing it, but I honestly hated it. And so when I started saving up money to buy an electric guitar, and my older brother did as well, and he beat me to it, and he bought an electric guitar, and I was like, well, crud, I can't copy my brother. So what's like electric guitar but wouldn't be copying my brother? It's like, oh, bass. So I bought an electric bass, and 2 weeks after that, I hadn't even had my first bass lesson yet, and my church's worship team asked me if I'd play on the worship team because I needed a bass player. And I was like, I don't know how to play yet. I haven't had my first lesson. And they're like, but you have a bass, right? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, cool. Yeah, just bring it to practice. I was like, okay, cool, sweet. And so as a result, like, obviously because of my experience on piano, like I understood the mechanics of music and stuff like that. So I picked it up real quick, and then playing with it in a band where everyone's better than you, that's the other way that you grow really fast, right? You're just challenged to rise to the occasion. So did that, ended up in high school playing in my high school jazz band. And then in college, it was kind of like, I was going back and forth whether I was going to do mechanical engineering or music. and I ultimately landed on doing music, much to the dismay of my parents because they thought there was no future or way that I could make a career out of it. But I decided to go to school for bass, so I got a bachelor degree in jazz and commercial music performance, bass performance.
Wow.
Made my living as a musician for maybe 8 or 10 years after that, until I ended up getting a full-time job working at a Christian camp doing stage production stuff. Because one of the things I learned being on the road with a band was how to run stage, lights, sound, projection, all that stuff. We brought all our own rig with us, and I was kind of the rig manager, I guess, so to speak. So I got a job doing that. How I got into guitar building was when I was in college. I paid a lot of money for a custom fretless bass. I actually meant to have it here to show you guys. And it was just a one-off build by a guy named Steve Wisniewski, Wish Bass, if you guys are familiar with that at all. It was before he kind of picked up and kind of got he got a little more popular, I think, after I had already placed an order. But bottom line was I custom ordered this bass and it showed up and it left a lot to be desired. And I don't want to speak anything bad about Wish basses because I know that we're all in we are all constantly growing and getting better at our craft. One of the reasons why I chose him was because he was cheaper than the others. So there's that obviously plays a role in it too. But anyway, I was just so bummed because as a college student, I just didn't have the money to be wasting on an instrument that I couldn't really play. And so I started tinkering with it, and it was kind of in the days before YouTube was really popular. It was around, but nobody was really on it yet. And so didn't really have the resources that I would have had available now to fix it. So I just kind of tinkered with it, tried to get it, eventually got to play a little bit better. But kind of the reason why I got into guitar building was really, I just wanted to learn how to fix that bass so I can get my money's worth out of it. Yeah. So yeah, fast forward, ended up leaving the job at the camp, and I didn't really know what to do next. And so I just kind of started making content for YouTube. Guns and guitars were two areas that I had some knowledge, and I felt like I could really make good quality videos for the internet about. And I never expected it to become like a full-time job, which it did a little bit later. So I just started uploading videos, and then really the first video that really kind of went viral was a guitar kit building video that I did. And the reason why I did that video is because I'd watched tons of YouTube videos on how to do guitar building and kit building and stuff like that. But at the time, there was not any like one single video that you could watch that really gave you everything you needed to know to build a guitar kit start to finish and how to actually end up with like a high-end guitar when you're done. There are a lot of videos of people just like putting the pieces together. And then there were a lot of videos of like Crimson Guitars had like a guitar kit building series where they like went crazy. They put an exotic top on it. They added binding. They put in like a MIDI controller, like just like way over the top stuff like Crimson does. And so there's nothing like, hey, if you're interested in trying this hobby, these are the steps you need to do. And so I was like, I can make a video like that. And so the very first guitar kit really that I built, I just filmed the whole process, did a voiceover, and added it to YouTube. And then, like a month or so later, like I had like 45 subscribers or something. And then like a month or so later, just out of nowhere, it just shot up. And that video, I think has well over 1 million views. And that was kind of really the start of, it was the first time I got a paycheck from YouTube. And then from there, it kind of just turned into a career. And since a lot of the people were there from the beginning for guitar kit building, I kind of just built the channel off of that, even though obviously I had some firearms content sprinkled in, and then just some other things here and there. And I've even branched off some more since then, doing all kinds of really DIY projects. The channel's really kind of evolved over the years. So, and so that was really cool. The story of the YouTube channel, I did that for like 5.5 years. I did that as my full-time job, which is really cool. It gave me the opportunity to take my family on the adventure of a lifetime. We sold our home and everything we owned and just hit the road in an RV. And I was like building guitars out of the RV and stuff, which is really cool. So it's just a really cool, experience of a lifetime. And now just kind of a lot of the tides have turned a little bit with being a social media influencer and kind of the next generation of influencers. they don't really care so much about like making a living as much as they care about just the popularity and the free products and stuff like that. And so it's just made it difficult for people to actually make a living because it's really what's the word I'm looking for? Watered down. You know, it's a much larger pool than it used to be, and the bar of entry has gotten a lot lower because like in the early days of YouTube, it was like the challenge was, can I get these videos off of my camcorder and onto the internet, right? That was like the bar of entry. And now it's like anyone with a phone can make, you know, TikTok and Instagram videos and stuff, which is cool. I mean, it's given a lot of people a voice, a lot of opportunity. It's allowed for a lot of, you know, diversity and inclusion kind of around the globe. I mean, look at us now. I mean, how else would 6 guitar builders from across the world all get together united on this one subject, right? But as a result, but as a result, also, you know, I have a family I need to provide for, and I just can't do it anymore. It's just been my experience. So I ended up, I have a job now, actually back in stage production. I work for a local church, and so I do video production and stage production, and so that's what I do when I'm working from home on Thursdays. Is I'm really just editing video content that I filmed throughout the week. So. There's amazing. You asked how I got into guitar building. I gave you my whole life story. So,
do you know during lockdowns that we had in this country? I know Scott says it wasn't necessarily the same where he is, but there was a lot of time I spent watching YouTube, and it was interesting. A lot of the influencers, the people that I found interesting anyway, had come at it in the same way you did. They wanted to learn how to do something, and while they were learning it or doing it, they realized that content wasn't there for other people, and so they were making it essentially for other people, not looking to make a living really out of it. And because they were clearly doing it from the point of view of someone that wished it was there for them to help them learn, like you were describing yours, it just grew and grew, and those people now seem to be at a point where they could make the more interesting things that they want because they've got that core behind them of how-tos and instructions, and then the base of followers that are really interested in what they do. But I hadn't thought really about, as you were describing, about how different kind of the more modern influencers are. At least with the guitar players that I follow, I've recently discovered a few that are much more like the YouTube content my children watch, in that they're fast-paced. There's lots of drop-ins of clips and things and funny effects, but they're still just amazing players. But it's just such a different kind of world to watch it.
It really is. And also, I mean, the different platforms. You guys know, just being on social media, you just kind of have to pick your platform and engage your community where you're at. And, you know, people always keep telling me, like, oh, you need to be making Instagram Reels, you need to be making TikTok and stuff. It's like, but I don't hang out there. Like, and so I'm just not interested in making that kind of content. You know, I'm on YouTube, and I still like long form horizontal videos. You know, I don't like short form vertical content, especially like, you know, like I'm never going to learn on TikTok how to change out the PCV valve on my Toyota, right? Like, you just can't do that in an entertaining 30-second video. And so I've just been on YouTube, and I've stuck with YouTube, and I know you guys have as well. I'm curious if any of you guys, if I'm allowed to ask questions, if any of you guys
please do.
I'm sorry, what?
I was going to say, it's just a random chat is what seems to happen, so ask away.
Yeah, so I'm just curious if any of you guys have seen if you guys are engaging on like TikTok and Instagram, doing short form vertical content, what you guys are doing and how it's working out for you. I'm just curious.
I had people tell me that, you know, TikTok was a good place to funnel traffic toward YouTube, and same with Instagram, that type of thing. And I put up a few things here and there, but I mean, it does next to nothing. But I don't have much of an audience anywhere. But it's okay. You set up your cameras for YouTube and you record, and then you got to edit later. But you got to do, I don't know, you got to have a different mindset. Set the phone up to catch this one stupid thing to try to post over there, and it's just.
And that's what it is for me. It's like, I don't know, when I'm filming stuff for YouTube, like if I'm filming myself building a guitar, like I can just I can set up the camera, make sure it's in focus, make sure it's a good shot, and then I can just work for 15 minutes and then edit that, do a super edit down to 30 seconds of whatever I just did, right? For the final version of that video. And it doesn't really take me out of what I'm doing. But when I'm thinking of it through the lens of like, ooh, I need to get a perfect shot of me wiping on this finish so that I can post this to Instagram. And then I do that, and then I post it to Instagram. And then, you know, by the time I've done that, it's like, oh, I missed my opportunity to blend this a little bit better. Like, it pulls me away from the project instead of inviting people into what I'm doing. It really ends up pulling me away from it. That's what I found.
Yeah,
and so, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
With guitar building, there's so few things that you know that are fast. You know, so many of these processes are slow, tedious, and really relatively boring. You'd have to do some crazy, you know, editing to bring it down to something concise like that. So I try, but
sorry, I was going to say, it seems too like I love to show like the whole, as much as I can, the whole process start to finish in one video, you know. And it's hard to do that, like thinking like Instagram Reels or TikTok videos in mind. Like, how do you do a super edit in 1 minute? But I know there's a lot of people that are doing it well. Like,
I just lost Dan's. Yeah, sorry, Dan, we've just lost your audio. Oh, maybe he can't hear us. I might talk over Dan, see if he can. Oh, Dan, sorry, we've lost your audio. I don't know if you can hear us. Oh, I
don't think he can hear us.
No, we've lost your audio. Just before we came on air, I was saying I felt really positive today that we weren't going to have internet issues, but apparently my picture's gone funny. My stream's gone, my audio's gone funny. Dan's now lost. Dan, you might have to switch on and off again if you can hear us. Yeah, we know we can't hear you. Sometimes if you leave and come back in, it might work. Yeah. Cheers. On the TikTok front, while he's off, I mentioned before that what I started to do when we started doing this chat is I used an AI program that just, you put the link in from the YouTube video and it analyzes it and breaks it down into 1 minute sections or up to 1 minute sections. And I thought I'd do that and try sharing them around. And it was quite time consuming, even though the AI did it. But so I was just checking in the chat if my audio's gone, but it's fine. And what I've noticed is I do get quite a few views on some of them, not like masses at all, but it's made me think much more about how to make that short form clip specifically, because the AI takes an hour and a half chat and it doesn't only just take like a minute from it. Sometimes it puts together a minute of chat that's linked, but from about 10 minutes, and it edits bits out and puts it together and pieces it together. And that's made me think about how to make something that's a bit more punchy. But I feel like to do that, I have to do a very different style of content to what I've been making, which is like, I like to, when I'm working, film as instructional and educational, because as some of you know, that's my background's educational, and some people do it really well on TikTok. But a lot of the time, if I see something like that, it just makes me want to go and watch something longer.
When he asked, I couldn't help but think about Ty from Shock the Fox, because he did a lot of reels, at least on Instagram. I don't know if he put him on TikTok, but he did a lot on Instagram. He got a lot of traffic from that somehow. But he seemed to be pretty good and creative at coming up with, you know, interesting little clips. I don't know how much work it, you know, was for him, but he seemed to be having some success doing it.
Yeah, it's an easy recipe if you think about it. Like, you take those aha moments, you know, like you talked about, like wiping on the finish, right? Like, that's like an aha moment, and you can capture that in like your short form video, and that's your 30-second reel. So if you just think, instead of process and workflow, instead of that, think of aha moments, then it kind of builds itself.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, but it's, like I said, different mindset, and I normally don't think of them.
Yeah, well, it's part. If it becomes part of your process, it becomes part of your thing. I have to say that I I try my best not to use TikTok anymore because it eats into my day. Because I find some people make such compelling content, and TikTok seems to know the things that's going to keep me watching. And I just find myself watching hours and hours of it. And what I really want to do is be making things. And I was thinking the other day about what my hobbies are. And I think my hobbies I could put down as video editing, because I spend a lot of time doing that. And it's not for money. I enjoy doing it. So I presume that's part of, Dan, maybe why your new job involves the video editing. You must enjoy it.
Yeah, I certainly enjoy it to an extent. I think everybody here knows that it can also definitely be a chore, right? Kind of a means to the end. What I really like doing is telling stories more than anything. And so I've taken a lot of, since I started on YouTube, and when I started on YouTube, again, the tide was changing. It wasn't just, who could post the best videos, but who could engage on a emotional human level with people. And we as people are hardwired for stories. And so I truly felt that in order to be successful on YouTube, I had to be a good storyteller. And so I did a lot of online training and stuff for telling stories. And that was actually, it came in handy when we hit the road, because we started a second channel that followed our travel adventures as a family. It was really cool. I was able to kind of flex that muscle a little bit. And then now working for the church, I'm able to flex that muscle a bit too. And so when I'm excited about the content that I'm making, like, sure, I love editing videos, but sometimes it's also just a grind. It's like sanding. Like, you're excited about it when you're excited about the end product, but sometimes it's just a freaking grind, and you just have to get through it. Yeah. So it really is both. And for me, the YouTube thing did start as a hobby. So absolutely, the video editing was a hobby, but it wasn't so much that I loved the editing side of it. It's that I loved creating something. Just like building a guitar, I loved creating something that people, were entertained by,
I think as well, you've got a natural presentation style, Dan. It just really comes across in your videos, something you really want to watch. And I think that's really important. And I love the way you mix doing the actual work with sort of chat, as well. You tell the story as you go. And I think that's really important as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for that encouragement. I got to tell you, man, if you go back and watch some of my earlier videos, I definitely didn't have the charisma that maybe you're talking about now.
Well, no, you say that. See, today I did. I thought I'm going to go back. What I do, I love scrolling up to find the first videos. And you've got one where you bought a couple of guitars, kit guitars from China, I think they were. Uh-huh. There was a Strat and there was a P bass. And okay. you were putting them together. You put them together, and you were saying, I think they were about $68 or something. You bought them for, and you put them together and then demoed them, and then told us what was good and what was bad, and they were fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So really interesting to watch.
Well, I'm glad you say that. I got to tell you, man, those early videos, man, I was just faking it to make it. Like, I would hit record and I would do just a million takes, and then I'd have to edit all the best ones together, and it was like not cohesive. I felt like I couldn't get the puzzle to fit and stuff. So I definitely struggled. And I feel like in those early days, I was kind of overproducing too. I was going more for entertainment value than for like I was talking about, that human connection value. Although clearly, as you're saying, I must have connected with you because you seem to really enjoy it. Yeah. So maybe I had more of that, I don't know, magic mojo or it factor, whatever you want to call it, than I give myself credit for. But I certainly felt like, man, I was just forcing that performance, to be perfectly honest.
Well, that's another thing about guitar building. It's not real conducive to doing multiple takes, So there have been very few situations where I scripted anything. God, it's horrible because I can't remember anything. When I've actually scripted it, I'll forget it absolutely. So it's got to be like right off camera and, trying to act like you're not reading it. It's terrible. But I mean, look, with guitar building, you got one shot to see this while I'm doing it. And hopefully I'm recording it well and not sounding like an idiot talking about it, because voiceover is the only other option. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Oftentimes what I'll do, just so that I have kind of two voiceover options to pick from, is that when I'm about to do something, like I'm about to apply a finish or whatever, I'll talk through the process first. Like, here's what I'm going to do. And then I'll do the thing. And if it works out, then I'll use that audio clip and I'll put it over the thing. But then, you know, some, like, you're halfway into it and you're like, this is not working. How do I save this? You know? So then afterwards you're like, yeah, you know, and I really wanted this to do this. And so I ended up doing it this way instead. And so, like, you just end up using that audio bite or whatever. But yeah, if you just try to do it like as you're going, like, you're going to end up with that panic moment, like, oh crap, this is not going the way I want it to go.
Yeah. Sometimes that's compelling too. But I keep thinking about, there was one time that I said, so I'm going to do this and then we're going to do that. And I was just lazy that day. And I took that clip of me saying that and put, you know, bubbles here of me doing it speed wise. And then it was over. And I've thought multiple times about that recently, thinking I need to do that again because it kind of worked out. You know, like, nobody wants to watch me, you know, do this again. We'll just fast forward through it while I'm saying I'm going to do it. Worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it helps keep the story moving along that way too. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting you say, Dan, that you try and do the whole build in a video, because I've been doing these things, especially from the Great Guitar Build off, you know, from that first one, where I was doing a weekly vlog effectively. And in those situations, you do get to the point where you think, oh shit, this isn't going to work. What am I going to do? Because it's on camera, you're committed, and it's going downhill, you know. But I've found from experience recently, those videos where you've got the whole lot together get far more views than the ones that you put out every week.
Yeah. And so in a formula I ended up coming up with. And so I know when I first started YouTube, and maybe you guys, when you guys started too, they were telling you got to post weekly. Like, you have to have a weekly post schedule so people know when they come back and they can watch their videos. That's all garbage now. The algorithms have it figured out. They know, you know, when your viewers are on and they're going to serve them the right video at the right time. It has nothing to do with your schedule anymore. So definitely don't need to feel, clearly I don't feel the pressure because I haven't uploaded a video in like 6 months. So, but one thing that I did back when I was doing that weekly grind was I would do just whatever I got done in that week. I would just do as like part 1 and then part 2 and then part 3 and however many parts. And then at the end, I would do a super edit. I would do a really nice thumbnail, really good title. And so, and the whole purpose of that video was just to reach the people that didn't watch. They weren't there for all the other parts. And sometimes often you would end up driving traffic back to those other videos as well. You could just use the little iCards up in the corner or whatever for people that, like, if you gloss over something super fast, then if they want more details, they can go to that video. But what I found out through this, and this was a key bit of information that I got from one of the classes that I took, is that people watching YouTube, they don't necessarily want to know every step you did. They just want to feel like they could do it if they wanted to, and also know that they probably won't ever try it, right? They probably won't ever do the thing that they're watching. They just want to watch someone do it and feel like they could do it. Really is what it comes down to. So that's, in my opinion, why those super edit videos end up performing better, is because you're taking something that took you months to do and you're putting in a 12-minate video where they're like, oh, I bet I could do that if I wanted to. And then they won't, but they at least feel like they could. And that's the emotional connection that you're going for, right?
That makes sense. And I built a guitar is a better story than I did a fret job.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I was talking about, you know, in those first days when I made that video, is like, I couldn't find any start to finish guides to building a whole guitar from a kit. I couldn't even find a good quality video that was less than like an hour on how to do fretwork. Cause they were all just, you know, people just filming in their luthier shop and not doing any edits. And I'm just sitting there going like, oh my gosh, can we just get to the point already, you know? And so I just felt like it was my civil duty to watch these hours and hours and hours of guitar building and figure out how to display it in 10 minutes, you know? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that's kind of the discrepancy I was seeing, especially on YouTube. There's the entertaining stuff that doesn't necessarily give you the information that you need, and then there's the situation for like us where we're looking for the keys to how to get something accomplished, and sometimes those are harder to find, and sometimes you got to watch a whole bunch of stuff to get all the little pieces together in your head on what you actually need to do it. And I've always kind of lamented the fact that people can get wildly successful by doing something stupid, while we're putting all this work into trying to do something constructive, and it doesn't get that kind of attention because it's not that immediately entertaining.
Yeah, and there's a lot of psychological research that's gone along with that as well. And the people that do see that success doing something stupid or doing something on accident, like ultimately they end up like dying inside because they can never see that kind of success again. Or if they do, they constantly have to be pushing the boundaries of it and that level of entertainment. It's just it has induced so much like psychological anxiety and stress, which leads to depression, just because you can never live up to that moment again, right? Yeah. And so a lot of people I know like us that are just grinding away trying to see that level of success. It feels like oh man, they just got the golden ticket and now they're huge now, when really they're ultimately it's way less healthy. And the people, if you look at the people who have done it well for a really long time, they're the people that have done it well for a really long time. Like, it's not just they saw instant success and have capitalized on it. Those people generally end up crashing. If you look at some of the biggest YouTubers, not just in guitar building, but in like tech vlogging and travel vlogging and stuff like that, you follow those people. Like, yeah, in every one of those, every once in a while, someone will hit a viral video and they'll become super popular for 5 seconds, or like the Star Wars kid just like swinging a broom around in his basement, and then they can't top that. Versus there's people, my mind's blanking me, who have just been doing it for a really long time and they've just earned that rapport, and so and they have that street cred, and they can say, like Peter McKinnon, for example. I don't know if you guys follow him for video editing or photography or whatever. Yeah. But he has just been doing quality content for a really long time, and he had to earn it. And now he's built such rapport that he can literally say, I got this and I tried it, but it sucks. Get this, and people won't even question it. They'll be like, oh, Peter McKinnon's using that. I know it's good, So I guess I would just encourage you, don't chase after the low hanging fruit, definitely stick with the grind. Like, it is a grind, and I would even say maybe I might even be considered kind of on the other side of the spectrum where I got bigger faster than I realized that I would. And it did put a level of stress and anxiety. Like I constantly had to be doing something bigger and better, and it did become this thing that I was constantly chasing. And so versus now, I've been able to kind of take a back seat and be like, it's not that important. And as a result, I'm on the backside of that curve now, so it really is, I guess I don't really know where I'm going with this other than you get what you pay for, right? Do you want people that are there just because you did something stupid or something that's hilarious one time, and then they won't come back and watch future stuff unless it matches that level? Or do you want people that have built that relationship with you, Like, for example, Corey, Corey's been a longtime viewer of mine. Him and I got connected really early on. And we still chat on the daily. He'll send me an update. I used to send him more updates back when I was doing more guitar building, but I haven't had the time lately. But he's always showing me his projects, and man, I love just feeling that connection. And like, even though, you know, I haven't uploaded a video in 6 months, like him and I still have that connection. And so, yeah, I think it's worth 10x the value, you know?
Yeah, no, I think it's right. It's a bit like climbing a mountain, isn't it? I mean, you know, we're still climbing. Once you're at the top, all you can do is fall off.
Yes.
But
yeah, or figure out
Corey,
how to build your mountain, right?
Corey's videos, they're absolutely fantastic. These necks he's doing, I mean, people are going to watch that and think, no way can I do that.
But they fit into the YouTube type of video that I like watching of things I can't do, and I find fascinating watching being done.
Yeah, for sure. Like watching Burl's art make a guitar out of aluminum. It's like, I'm never going to build a forging furnace and try that, you know? And same with Corey doing his legacy builds was like 9,000 piece neck that he did. It's like, I'm never going to do that, but I certainly enjoy watching somebody else do it.
There's 450.
It's like, who's counting?
Yeah, well, I think about like Alex Steele, because absolutely fascinating watching people do forging and metalwork. I'll never do it. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars had a hobby that I'll just never. I'll never be able to afford, much less have the exposure to, but it's fascinating to watch. But since, getting into guitar building, I've found it's a lot of fun to watch anybody build anything. Watching creative outlets is fun.
Yeah, and the people do it well, I've noticed these days, aren't even talking. It's like you just hear the sounds of the tools, right? And you're like, oh, you're just in it,
Yeah. Yep. But I've tried to keep in mind all along that I'm a novice at everything online, but trying to keep in mind that it should be telling a story, even if it is doing a fret job rather than an entire guitar build. So trying to make it tell a story, and sometimes it's a little difficult, but
yeah, it's definitely not a natural skill, I think, for a lot of people. And there are some mundane tasks that it's really hard to find that story inside, for sure. But like, for example,
3 times before.
Yeah. And oftentimes too, like, people don't realize when they're telling a story, they're not telling their own story. What they're actually doing is they're telling the story of the person that's watching it. Like, for example, so I'm going to take it all the way back to that first guitar kit build that I did, which was just how to build a high-end kit out of a low-end, or how to build a high-end guitar out of a low-end kit. That story, like, I showed how to do it, but that story was like, so at the base of every story is like, there's the hero that wants something. They have to overcome conflict to get it, and they're transformed by the process, right? So that is the base of every story ever told. And so in that video, it's like, okay, the hero wants something. What do they want? They want a high-end guitar. They have to overcome conflict to get it. I can't afford it, so I'm going to have to build it. And so then they realize by the end of the video, like, hey, this is attainable. I can actually do this. So they're transformed by the process, right? So that's kind of like the 3 key things. So if you kind of think through it through that lens, like, how can I make the viewer the hero of the story? So from a fretwork perspective, it's like, what does the hero want? The hero wants a good playing guitar. What do they have to overcome? They don't want to have to pay a luthier to do it. So I'm going to learn how to do it myself. Oh, well, the tools are really expensive. Are there any tools that are cheap that actually work for this job? Can you make your own tools? Like, what are those conflicts you have to overcome to get it? And then by the end of the video, if they feel like they can do it themselves if they want to, then they're transformed, right? So viewing it through that lens, I think, might help shape the way that you create content as well.
For sure, because that would be a much more compelling story than, well, the hero wants his frets done, and the conflict is I hate doing frets, and it's not, that's Disney.
In a sense, though, Scott, like, if you think about it, like, we're all the heroes because it's guitar builders that are your audience.
Yeah.
Right? Mainly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have, it's sort of like it's like an echo chamber almost. Like, we're all speaking to ourselves, at least in this community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where you kind of have to pull the frame back a little bit, like, and not think of yourself as the hero. Like, I'm going to save this person who knows jack crap about guitar building, but think of it from their lens, like they're the hero, right? They're the ones who need to learn this process, and they need to figure out how to do it. And sure, you're the guide, right? So every hero story has a guide, right? Somebody who comes in, like Obi-Wan Kenobi or whatever, right? They all have a guide. That's where you are. They've already made the decision that they're watching the video because they want to learn how to do the thing. So they're the hero already, because they've already taken the first step to watch your video. So if you think of it through that lens, like I'm the guide that's going to help the hero with their transformation story. That's kind of more the lens you want to come at, because, you know, yet again, they've already made the decision to be there. They're the ones that are going to ultimately do the thing in the end. If you paint yourself to be the hero and you're just saving them from something they can't do themselves, that doesn't really cause any transformation in them, right?
Well, that's not one place for them to be.
Yeah. So at that point, they may as well be watching, you know, a hero on the news. Like it doesn't transform. It's got no transformative power. So if you can be the guide that connects with them on an emotional level, then that's where you're going to get your hardcore advocates for your channel.
I like that. That makes sense.
So we alluded to earlier talking about mine and Corey's collaboration. Corey hasn't spoken up hardly at all, except for to correct me on the amount of pieces in his guitar mix. So I'm curious, Corey, since I don't think you and I have ever had this conversation, tell me about our collaboration from your perspective, like start to finish. Like, what was it like for you? I'm curious.
Well, when I started that, I was going through separation from my wife, and I was working full time, and I had depression and anxiety and everything, and I just do these little 2-minute clips and send them to you through Messenger, and by the time the video you wanted the voiceover, I ended up having we had pneumonia and stuff, and you did your wacky thing over it, and I just thought it was hilarious. It was like, and the amount of, like, I'll go back and have a look at the comments, and people are always up here about the accent and the voiceover, and
yeah, they're to this day they still give me crap about my horrible Australian impersonation.
And oh no, that looks like crap because it was made out of shelving. You can't do that for $30 because you have to buy so many tools and everything, and it's like you don't get the point. Like,
yeah,
you could do it with a handsaw and that. It was just, I used what I had.
Absolutely.
And it was the timber that cost next to nothing because I picked it up on the side of the road.
Yeah. You fought a hobo to get, if I recall correctly.
Oh yeah, the hobo.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
what was it? The apple cider vinegar.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, the glue recipe, the apple cider vinegar and.
Oh yeah, in your own blood. Yeah.
Ketchup and whatever.
Yeah. So, but you brought up a really good point. So you mentioned kind of the haters, right? Kind of the trolls came out. They gave me crap for my Australian accent. They corrected me on all my non-Australian lingo. They criticized us for saying you can't build it for $35 or whatever. All levels of criticism, right? So, but this is something again that I learned in some of those classes. When you're developing that human connection, like you have to stand for something so that other people can stand with you. And part of the part of our primal instinct is we're not united by common interests, but by common beliefs. And so you actually need to have the haters in order for people to stand with you for something, right? And so, and that's a huge turnoff for people that are trying to get into social media, is that they can't handle the haters. And they don't realize that those haters, they're actually giving the algorithms everything they need to be successful, right? They're getting the comments, they're getting the watch time, they're getting all the things. It feels negative and it feels critical, and it makes you honestly want to kill yourself sometimes. but also there, you know, for every one of those comments, there's 10 people that scroll through the comments, and even if they don't like actually go to bat for you in the comments, which you guys probably maybe have experienced that too, you'll actually find that some of your more dedicated viewers will actually go to bat for you when they criticize you. I know Corey will for me. When people post something critical, like he'll be one of the first to jump on and be like, you have no idea what you're saying, you know, and it's really awesome to see the community band together like that. But for every one negative comment, you probably have 10 people that read that comment and go, gosh, what a moron. Like, why even, you know, if they even knew this guy the way I knew him, then, you know, you wouldn't be saying that or whatever. So those comments help build your community, believe it or not. You know, you need trolls, you know, in order to develop a really close community, again, that connects on an emotional level, because we're not here because we're all guitar builders. We're all here because we share a common ideology, right? And that ideology is you can build a better guitar for you than somebody else can, right? And that's why we get into it, is because we see something that somebody else did, and we're like, oh, that's really cool. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it a little bit different for the way I like it. I'm going to do a different color finish. I'm going to do a slightly different shape. I'm going to do a different pickup configuration. I'm going to do scallop frets. Like, I don't know, like everything you do is like, it's custom, you know. If you could buy the perfect guitar for you, you would. But we're all linked by this common ideology that's like, it's just gonna be better if we just do it ourselves, you know. Or the ideology could be, we have something to offer that's not currently being offered, right? And so it's not that we just all build guitars, it's that we have that common ideology. And one of the things that Corey, you and I were building in that video, I don't know if you realized it or not, but this is the reason why you and I had such a tight connection early on, was that not only do we want to do it ourselves, but we also just don't want to spend a lot of money. And so we're just, you know, you and I both, I think we just had this connection. Like, you were showing me these guitars that you built out of these, you know, shelving boards that you got at your hardware store. And I was like, dude, that's dope. You know, I wish they filled those here. Like, because I want to build something like that, you know. It was an instant connection. And so that was what we brought to the table, was like, hey, like, you don't have to use like these super expensive exotic woods. Like, just rock what you got, right? And so, and you know, to this day, like, that video performed really well. And it certainly wasn't because of my Australian accent. It was because people, they connected, like, oh, like, if I wanted to, I could do this, you know. And that's the common ideology. And that's where you're going to get a lot of haters. You're going to get a lot of people that believe if they don't pay $3,000 for something, then it's a piece of crap, which is not the case. Obviously, we all know that. And so, again, it's that common, you know, people band around a common belief, not a common interest.
So the takeaway from this video is that Tim Hollis actually has a purpose.
With all that comments from him, I reckon.
That is an interesting perspective I had never thought about, and it makes sense.
Yeah. So Corey, what was it like working with me before you? Because we started that collaboration kind of before you and I really got close. I think we got close because of that collaboration, but really we started off just sharing projects and stuff.
The first video I seen of yours was the Jazzmaster.
Okay.
And I was going to go out, like, I had to do work on, I didn't have to because I wasn't making it for anyone, but I wanted to go out and do a bit of work on the guitar I was working on. And you dropped the video, and I commented and I said, oh, damn it, Dan, I can't go out because I've got to watch this now. And then you're like, oh, no, it's addictive. And I'm like, yeah, I already know, mate. I've built like about 20 or something.
Yeah, and I think that was what I was getting at, is like, I was like lecturing you on like, be careful, guitar building is an addictive hobby. And you're like, dude, I've been doing this so much longer than you have. Like, and so I was wondering if I came across as like an arrogant douchebag. Like, hey,
no, it's fine. And then, yeah, we just like, I was like, oh, I want to show you like what I was working on. And then I had to figure out how to send it to you because like I had no idea because I wasn't on YouTube that long. Like, it's just a viewer.
Yeah. Well, and on YouTube, you can't like post a photo in the comment section. Yeah. I wish that'd be so much cooler, but you can't, you know? And so I think you found me on Facebook I think,
Yeah,
and you were
Facebook
photos. Yeah.
Guns and Guitars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then spitball and idea. Like it was just easy because like I was very like you had about 75,000 subs too, and I was like, oh shit, you're the most famous person I've spoke to. And then yeah, it was just back and forth what we're going to do, and like we found the common thing with my son having autism, and it was your sister, wasn't it?
My sister's on the spectrum, and my stepsister is really low functioning on the spectrum. So that's kind of, the connection there. Yeah,
so we figured out what we were going to do, and like, there's people like, oh, you can't do that for $30. My time was like, I didn't worry about time back then as far as what I spent on builds. It was just like an outlet. Like Scott always says, it's like fastest and everything, and like that's what it was. Like I was going through a really crap time then because marriage ended, we had to move. I didn't know where I was going to live because I'd never rented before and everything, and I had to find a rental. And, like,
I wonder how many people have that story where it's the creative outlet was medicine for the soul when they needed it.
Yeah. Well, when I started building, it was because I wanted a guitar and it was too expensive. Like, that was the only heartbreaking thing was I couldn't afford it. And and then we started this project, and like it was just a really crap time. And then it's like, oh, can you do your voiceover? I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know. And then I ended up having bronchitis, and it nearly turned into pneumonia, and I was like really crook, and I just moved, and then he goes, oh, I'll do a Batman Jason Statham Aussie accent sort of thing. Like, yeah, right, I go for it, man. And then it's like, well, you're going out on the limb there doing that. It wasn't me. So yeah, it was just it was great. Really enjoyed it, and like when that video came out, I thought, oh, you know what, I'm going to have a little stockpile, and hopefully I'll get like a ton of people. And then all they wanted was $30 guitars.
Yeah. That's
come up in them.
That was the thing, is like when I started uploading videos, I was like, oh yeah, build your dream Jazzmaster for $130. Then you get people messaging you like, hey, I'll pay you $130 to build me a Jazzmaster. And it's like,
it comes up on my Facebook memories every now and then because I posted a screenshot. Hey, can you make guitar for $30 or cheaper? So, yeah, you're dreaming, mate.
Well, hardware, yeah.
Well, I can show you how to do it for $30.
Yeah, the point is you can. Yeah. You can do it.
And everything was cheaper back then too.
Sure was, yeah.
You get truss rods for $4 or $5 off eBay.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about those guitar kits that in my early videos were like $69, $79 or whatever. You can't get that. Like you might be able to get a tele kit for $99 these days, but that's like that's not the kit you want anyway. But those were the golden days of guitar kit building. I remember that.
There's quite a lot of companies now that do the kits, and some of them are more expensive than buying a built guitar, but I think people are buying it for the experience of the building. So it's not so much about the guitar. Look, I was just trying to find your video that you did together so I can link it in the comments, and I can't seem to find it. What is it? Is it on your channel, Dan?
It's on my channel.
Oh, I've just scrolled past it. I was trying to listen and look. I can't multitask. There we go. But what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description, and obviously there's a link to all our channels, including yours, Dan. Dan, I know we haven't got you for much longer, and we've hardly talked actually about guitar building. So we'll have to get back another time to talk about, because I'm intrigued about your whole journey and building while you're on the move and things like that. But you said you're still posting a little bit every now and then. What sort of things are you working on at the moment that we can look forward to seeing?
Yeah, I've got three guitars that are all dangerously close to being finished, and I just can't find the time or really the effort. After I've spent 8 hours already in the editing chair, the last thing I want to do is more video editing. So that's really what it comes down to, is just the brain power is spent. The creative power has already been spent. And so I'd probably be more apt to finish those guitars if I didn't feel like I actually needed to hit the record button and then do something with it later. I think that part of it that's the mental block that I'm having a hard time getting past at the moment. I think if I could just go out there and finish them, they'd be finished. But I've filmed them all the way up until this point, and I can't just finish it and not post about it. So basically the 3 projects. So firstly, we've got the live stream community builds that's been going on for well over a year. Shoot, we might even be coming up on 2 years now at this point. Yeah. Corey just corrected me. Yeah, it's been 2 years, which I definitely need to finish. And that's just a mental creative energy thing, because I got to do it live. So I have to be on, I can't just grind through it. Like, I need to actually be personable and, hey, there's the video. Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's why that hasn't gotten done. And I really need to. Dylan sent us a really nice set of pickups for it. And I feel bad that I've been sitting on those pickups for so long without actually being able to sound demo them. So I need to finish that for sure. So that probably will be the first thing whenever I have the mental capacity. I probably won't even schedule it. I'll probably just go live and just see what happens. And then I've got the I don't know if you guys watched it, but I'm making a fretless bass, or no, not a fretless bass, just a bass out of a single slab, and just cut it out on the CNC machine, and really close to finishing up that project. And then the other one is I made a prototype off camera that actually got done because I could do it off camera. And so I'm kind of redoing it on camera so people can see the whole process. And yeah, I've just got a neck and body at this point. But kind of all the hardest part's done. All I got to do is, I got to fret it and do the fretwork. That's the only last hard part. So those things, they're just sitting out in my shed in pieces.
Am I right that your situation now then is that you said you've got a place to live with a workshop set up now?
Yes. So yeah, we bought a place after being on the road for 3.5 years. We were like, okay, it's time to settle down. Our kids are getting old enough that they want to start forming more long-term relationships and stuff. When we hit the road, they were 4 and 6 years old. And then, when we started to settle down, it'd been 3.5 years. So they were, 9 and 11 years old. And so it was kind of time for them to start, having some friendships that last longer than a week. And so that was kind of one of the biggest driving factors, as well as just kind of COVID and everything ruined the economy. And, when your home gets 6 miles to the gallon on diesel, and diesel is over $5 a gallon, like you can't move as quickly anymore. So we ended up buying property and then putting a home on it. And so we ended up living in the RV still for another year while it was being built, but we just lived in it stationary. But that's all sold, and I've got my workshop set up. And so, the plan was actually, once I moved into the house, is that I was going to launch my brand of custom guitars and basses. And you guys may have followed some of those video series where I was kind of developing my prototype, and then I was taking some pre-orders and stuff like that. And got a really good response from people. And honestly, I still get messages all the time. People want me to build them guitars, and I just don't have the time to do it because this job just kind of fell in my lap, and it's kind of nice to have like a secure paycheck again, especially just taking on a new, mortgage, and, just so many things were up in the air with the transition back to regular life, that it was nice to have that stability. And so now I just, after working 40 to 50 hours a week, I've wanted to keep the YouTube going as a side hustle, but I just don't have a whole lot of capacity to continue doing it. So it's one of those things where I just got to work on it when I have time and just upload it. And the majority of my viewers have made it really clear that they don't really care how often I upload. They just want me to still upload from time to time. And so that's been cool. It's kind of taken a lot of the pressure off. And it also makes it so that it doesn't feel as much like work, which I think is, it was work for a while, but now it can be my hobby again, which is nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of freedom in that too, you know.
Well, one of the great things about having followers and people that support you like that is that you can have it as your hobby and know they're still there. But at the same time, you've got videos up which are there for any time in the future for someone to stumble across and use as a tool, an educational tool to help them create as well. Which
I always think, but so many people I talk to, it's like they're oblivious to the fact that I ever did videos before. It's like nobody goes back and looks at the old stuff. Thank God. But it's always kind of confused me that, I mean, it's there forever. I mean, you can go watch it anytime you want.
Yeah. I mean, it will find people as long as it's relevant. And I do have a pretty good backlog. I mean, some of my videos aren't relevant anymore, and so they don't get any views. But I do have a pretty good backlog of some videos that are still very relevant, that still get a lot of views. And honestly, it's nice. Like, I still get a monthly paycheck from YouTube, even though I'm not uploading content, just because of that backlog that people are still watching, still interacting with. I mean, a lot of the affiliate links and stuff are dead, so I'm not getting as much affiliate income. You know, it probably would be worth it for me to go back and make sure all the affiliate links are good. I probably would see a little bonus increase if I actually did that. But again, that feels like work to me, you know, and I want this to be my hobby again. Right. Yeah. And so, you know, not everything in life is about money. Like, yeah, I could make a lot more money, but I'm in what I feel like is like the funnest stage of my kid's life. You know, they're just at a really fun age where I just want to like do the things with them. Like my son has just taken up mountain biking, just one of my passions as well. So him and I are getting out on a bike together. He made his local middle school mountain bike team, which is super cool. So I want to go to all the races and be involved with that as much as I can, you know? And you know, like it's going to cost me money to do that instead of doing, you know, guitar building or whatever. But yeah, family comes first, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you don't get those years back. So
no,
you got to enjoy those while there.
And although not a guitar note to end on, the family comes first is a great ending for our chat.
He was fun.
Yeah. No, I wasn't expecting so much of the conversation to be about his life as a YouTuber and work, sort of thinking about YouTube. And it's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. So yeah, that was really interesting. YouTube's such an odd place. Yesterday I saw on Facebook someone in one of the groups I'm part of was saying that he's a really established YouTuber in a different field with millions of followers, and he was showing a photograph of his recording rig that he has at home. And the reason he was talking about it is he wants to start filming himself with a new guitar channel. And what he wants to do is it to be a channel about his music and him playing, but he was saying that what he would like to incorporate into that was supporting luthiers that are making independent guitars by filming himself with his compositions playing their guitars. And someone had a question which is, and will you return the guitars afterwards? And he said that once his channel gets to a certain level, it would be the same as people paying him for an advert. So no, he wouldn't. And that sparked such a debate about how you value the price and the time that, especially in that group where it's kind of luthiers, but also guitar builders that build high quality, but in their spare time, to just get a video made of someone playing, even if he's got lots of following, I don't think it's that beneficial really for most people for selling. And a lot of the guitar companies that I follow on Instagram, when I first started following them, I followed them partly because I like their guitars, but partly because I was interested in their sort of business models. Not that I want to go down that route anymore with setting up a guitar business where I'm working with other people making production runs. But a lot of them were saying that they refuse now to work with clients that are in big bands that want a free guitar, basically, because it's never going to give you it's not like an advert, really. They're getting a free guitar. You're not going to get that much business out of it, really. It's not worth the effort. They'd rather just make their guitars and sell them. spend the amount of money that you spent on making your guitar, maybe, or what you could sell it for. Let's say a lot of them are selling theirs for $3,000. You can get a lot of advertising for $3,000 that's better than someone having a YouTube clip or a band that's not really going to mention them that much because they're not big enough. Even the big bands, like if Slash asked me to make a guitar, that'd be different.
Right. Yeah, there's a threshold, right? Like,
yeah. And lots of people think that they're beyond that threshold. It's maybe from our point of view, they might not be.
I'd have to think about the amount of time that I put into a build, and I mean the money and hardware alone usually is pretty. I'd be hard pressed to just give somebody one just for some exposure.
Oh, this one here. Actually, when I was saying that, I built that for someone in a band that I really liked as a present, and it was when I was first building as an excuse to try out building and to give it to someone that I really respected as a gift, which I thought might get me a bit of promotion, but it never really did. But he liked it, but he wanted it slightly different so he could play it live. So I made it slightly different, and he played it live, and now he's raffling it off. That's 8 years later. I think basically he's in a situation where he needs money. He's raffling off all his guitars. But it's sort of sad to see it go. But at the same time, I know it's going to go to someone that's a massive fan of his and his music. And that was his symbol for a while, the band symbol. So, yeah, it didn't really pay off in me getting any business from it, but I made something for someone I really liked. And I learned a lot out of it about how to work with guitarists who, just because they're good at playing guitar, doesn't necessarily mean they understand how a guitar works.
And you got a cool story out of it, and who knows what will happen with that guitar.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but it's not something you'd want to do a lot, I guess. Depends on the circumstance, I suppose.
This is the topic that keeps coming up a bit, like the whole business model of being a luthier. Perhaps we should dedicate something to this, explore it a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Find somebody who successfully pulled it off. Yeah, okay. Have we heard from Ben?
No.
We're not good.
So, one thing there's a few people I wanted to invite along who have businesses that make guitars, who have done something we mentioned before, where they've designed a model of guitar and they've had it produced in another country. I'm not sure. So DePinto Guitars, Chris DePinto, I love his work. I love his Instagram account because he runs a shop that sells his guitars and vintage guitars and does repair work. So he has lots of videos about really interesting guitars and really interesting repairs that he does as well. But I know that he had his original models built somewhere else, shipped to him, and then he would, I can't remember if he completely took the frets out, but he did a whole fret job on it. So everything was sort of completely finalized by him. And I know that some of them he gets special paint jobs done with a specialist paint person that lives near him, and he does specialist wiring depending on what the clients want and things. But he had this model of mass produced, not mass produced, but a run produced abroad. And I found that really interesting. So I wanted to approach him. Like, there were a few other people like that. And then it occurred to me, in the way that Dan was talking about YouTube changing just now, that maybe that's a model which you can't really use anymore. It'd be interesting to hear how it worked, but
it seems like a pretty valid model that would still work. What makes you think that it wouldn't work anymore, Daniel?
It feels like if you're competing with the budget brands that make okay guitars, or people like Harley Benton that make okay guitars that you can buy for a reasonable price, or you're competing with a brand like Fender or something that has the name, or then you're making your bespoke guitars. I'm wondering if the bespoke industry should be more about the hand built yourself as opposed to the fact, I don't know. I think you're right. It is an interesting model to talk about. I'm just not sure how well.
No, you're right too. You have a lot of valid points. Like the Harley Benton thing is huge, right? Because they're making very good guitars for almost nothing. That is very competitive, and there's a lot of other companies that are being very competitive, and it's hard to compete with them. In fact, it's almost impossible to compete with them.
Well, something else that since you mentioned it, you know, we think a lot about. We put a lot of stock in the hand-built custom thing. Ultimately, I don't think most people that are looking to buy a guitar really care if it was CNC'd in Korea or handmade by, you know, somebody in a shop. I could be wrong, but
I don't know. I know that the first time I came across bespoke guitars was a guitarist in the band I was in was having one made, and it just sounded incredible. This idea of having a guitar made to your spec and your design and things like that. And when I go to the guitar shows, like the one I'm going to on Saturday, when you see the more bespoke guitars, they really look different to the mass-produced ones. In the way that your guitars, Scott and Corey's
for sure. Like,
yeah,
absolutely. There's nothing like it.
Exactly. And then
I don't think people want to put in that much time to do them, to be honest. I think I'm the only one stupid enough to do those necks.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but yeah.
I do know a couple people that took some pride in the fact that they had one custom build. I don't know what that's worth to them, but
it's worth everything because guitarists want to stand out. They want to be individuals, and there's only one way to be an individual, and that is to not buy a stock guitar that you got off the wall. That's all they care about, standing out on a stage.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, I've got a few that's in hand. Like I've made a few that people have came back and had another one built, which like that's probably the best thing out of it for me. Like knowing that I've done something well enough the first time that they want another one. Like,
yeah, that's such a compliment, knowing that someone's got one and they like it enough to have a second when they could go anywhere, but they've come back.
Like back ages ago, after the Dan video, I think. No, it was before the Dan video. I made a guitar, put it up on Marketplace, probably only sold it for about $220, whatever. But that one, I didn't make the neck on. It was just a bought neck. Anyway, the guy came back, oh, do you reckon you could build me a couple of tellies? I'm like, yeah, righto. So I made these twin tellies, and he gigs that guitar every time he plays now. And like I always set it up on Facebook when he's mentioning his gigs, and I'm like, which, yeah, it's still small time, but it's, yeah, like being where I am, like my town's probably 4,000 people. Like the reach locally is not massive. So
I don't know if there's anybody in town that knows I build guitars. I mean, other than a handful of people. That's kind of weird.
Some guy you got recognised one day, didn't you?
No.
At the hardware shop or something?
I'm sure you told the story, Scott, where someone asked you, are you the guitar builder? But they thought you were a different guitar builder. Was that right?
No, okay. Yeah, it was I had a neighbor, and I just the first time I talked to this dude out of nowhere, he was like, hey, don't you build guitars? Aren't you with those guys up on whatever street? And I'm like, yeah, but no. What kind of coincidence is that? And I still don't know to this day what street that was or what he was talking about. I have no idea.
He probably thought you were Sully.
No, there was a dude that was going to jiu-jitsu for a while, and out of the blue, he told me he had a friend in like Alabama that said, hey, if you watch this Bonehead guy building guitars, it's really cool to watch, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, holy shit, I'm rolling with that dude at jiu-jitsu. That really the only situation where somebody actually recognized me. And he was in a different state. That was, I mean, talk about a coincidence.
It just occurred to me that if anyone is listening just to the audio of this, Dave has dropped out because he was having issues with his audio. I don't know if you heard, it was sort of speeding up and slowing down and pitch shifting a bit. So he thought it's better to drop out for now. And yeah, I don't know. This is still going to be only our second audio stream, so it may be that as we go along, we find a better way to do the audio for it all. But I'm hoping with the experiments we've been doing, it should be okay. So the plan is that we're going to be doing this every Thursday on YouTube. Then the audio will go out a few days later. I'm not sure yet what the best day to do it on. If anyone's got a suggestion, whether it should be on a weekend or a weekday. And then still at the end of each month, so next week, we'll be doing the slightly different time for the live stream so we can work a bit better with people like Corey in the Southern Hemisphere. So that'll be a couple of hours earlier than our normal stream. So that'll be 11 o'clock AM for me in the UK. And that's 8 o'clock in the evening for Corey.
Yeah.
And sometime in the middle of the night for
for you guys.
Yeah.
5 a.m. I think.
Yeah, 5. But when the clocks change, it will become even more confusing. But we'll work it out.
Yeah.
And next week, so we've got Corey, we've got Ray back from Custom Unlimited Designs, Brad from BB Guitars, and Mr. Glyn's Pickups is going to join us as well. I'm hoping he'll be, because he gigs some Thursday night, so it will be intermittent with him, but I'm hoping he'll be on quite regularly as well.
Yeah, Arran should be back next week too.
Oh yes, of course, and Arran, yeah.
Awesome.
How could I forget?
You want to get up at 6. So.
Yeah. Well, he'll be at work by now, I think, or
Yeah.
getting on the way to work. Have any of you got anything that we should be like? I asked Dan, anything exciting coming up on your YouTubes that you're planning, or social media, or guitars you're working on? I know I've been following Scott's building your. Well, it's a Telecaster at heart, is that right? But
Yeah,
not really.
Kind of. Yeah. My ultimate telly.
Yeah.
The least telly ever tellied.
It looks awesome.
Dude, I've had so many. I've had quite a few little problems, just stupid things. Because, see, and I talk about that's crazy. I talk about the fact that when you're doing a 2x4 guitar, I tend to keep in mind that it cost me $8 for lumber, and I start doing stupid shortcuts, and I've been trying to avoid that, but it still happens.
How heavy is it, Corey?
I don't know. I never weigh them. The scales are inside, but the back's pine, so the top half's cambered. I don't know. I've had heavier guitars I made, but should get pickups in it next week.
I was going to ask how much was chambered.
Do you guys?
I was going to ask how much was chambered.
I only did the top half because I thought if I had the bottom half a bit heavier, it might help with neck dive.
Ah, that's a clever idea. Yeah, for those of you that are on the
That's
audio,
cool.
you're missing out on Corey's amazing twin neck guitar with the amazing necks.
Amazing.
I did two covers because I want to have it so the top neck can be on at all times too. So I'll go 3-way toggle on-off switch and then down to the bottom cavity, same deal, and just have one jack. I don't know why I want them both on at the same time, but it's just,
No, that makes sense. You want to be able to play them both at the same time, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And is one of them your 4? Is one of them your 4-string and one the 6-string?
Yeah, one's a 4-string and the other one's a 6-string. I figure I'm going to put in the Limp Bizkit tuning again.
Yeah, nice.
And then the next one's going to be that Greco thing that I discovered the other night.
Well, look, I hope maybe Wes will end up with that one.
No, he has liked a couple of posts with it. But yeah,
I'm about decided my next build I want to do bubblegum pink, but that's the only thing I have in mind. I want to do a pink guitar.
Yeah, has Mark inspired you with his 80s references?
It was some time ago. I was looking for a good example to show somebody of a quilted top, and one of the ones I ran across was just bubblegum pink, and I flipped out. So ever since I saw that, I've thought I want to do that sometime. I don't even know how you would dye something actual pink rather than light red, but I know it can be done because I saw that thing and it was just incredible. So I wanted to go all out on the pinky jump. I don't know
I've
that that's
seen pink dye before.
Yeah.
There's pink scene out there for sure. Yeah, 100%.
I'd have to do some playing around and find a bunch of testing to find what does work.
If you don't use primer too, sometimes you can get away with spraying it and you can still see the grain underneath it as well. I've done that with I've got this Dave Grohl kit that I got from Pitbull, and I didn't prime it, and you can see the grain underneath it and look Dora. So,
I'm not in a situation where I can spray, especially colored. But I was thinking about a quilter of flame, so do the fun dye stuff. I have seen some. So early on, real early on, I don't remember what it was I was trying to dye, but I just for fun I tried the RIT clothing dye that you can get at Walmart, super cheap. And it did not work out well at all. In subsequent years, I know I've seen somebody on YouTube do it successfully. I don't know if maybe because they've got to have pink. So I don't know. Maybe that's a possibility, but.
Dan's used Rick dye a heap in the past.
Say what?
Dan Thompson's used Rick dye a lot in the past.
That's where I've seen it. Yeah.
Lots of people use that Angelus leather dye as well. So I'm sure there are plenty of dyes out there that do the job.
Yeah, finding one that's pink is kind of.
I've seen it, Scott. I don't remember where, but I've seen it before for sure.
I just did it.
Staying with watered down acrylic as well. That's not good because obviously you get acrylics in so many colours these days.
Yeah.
Like
I've cerused with acrylic, but I don't know about dye.
I've had good experience with acrylic cut with alcohol with an airbrush. So you can get that transparency if you want it. And of course, any color of the rainbow because it's acrylic.
This is one, if anyone's watching that knows, get in touch with Scott or leave a comment below with the answer to this.
I've got the idea in my head and it's going to take some experimenting. So I'm just trying to head it off at the pass and get some idea how I might be able to pull that off.
Well, that's the fun part, experimenting.
Well, and I've come to find that when you got something that you can dye, I mean, the really pretty figured stuff, I have so much fun doing that. So I had to redo the purple one for Great Guitar Build Off twice. So I dyed that thing at least 3 different times, and it didn't bother me to do that because it was a lot of fun to do it. But that's another great thing about those maples is you just sand the shit off and try again. It's ain't that hard to go back and try again. And there aren't too many opportunities in guitar building where you get to do a full mulligan. So
on that double neck, I actually tried bleaching the wood, like the pine, trying to make it less green, but I couldn't find, because being in a little shithole, couldn't find anything too good to like as far as wood bleach goes. So I ended up using the toilet bleach, and after I wiped it on and everything, it turned even more yellow. But when I seen it at the back, it was a bit lighter than what it started with.
I tried to bleach some Wenge once because I thought if it would pull some of the color out of the softer stuff, it would, I figured it would super pop and really be interesting. And I saw some people that had recipes for an actual wood bleach. I didn't get around to trying those out. I just tried, Clorox, and it just didn't do much.
There is a wood bleach. Blacktail used it on one of his videos. It's a 2-part sort of thing.
There was an old video on YouTube about someone making transparent wood. So they used some kind of chemical that bleached out all the color, and it was just basically transparent. You can see the cells. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know what they used though.
It's mad.
Yeah, I remember seeing something about that. If I remember right, it was pretty thin though.
Yeah, it was very thin, very thin. So it'd be a top, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I got it virtually translucent. It was crazy. Yep.
Owen just mentioned Black 4.0. I've got 3.0 here. It's made by Stuart Semple, who's an artist, and he makes a few things. The black, I think, might have been the first one they did, but they also do the pinkest pink. So they do basically dyes and powdered dyes and pigments and paints. And this is meant to be the blackest black ever made. So, but now version 4 is out. So maybe it's not the blackest black ever made. But yeah, it's not very durable at all. And if you do put a clear coat over it, it gets rid of all of its absorption powers. But the thing that's good about it, the good bit of marketing, is the blackest black ever was made by I can't remember who it was, some sort of aerospace company working with an artist called Anish Kapoor, so he could use it in his sculptures. But as part of the process of him working with them, he had to sign some sort of agreement, which meant that he could use their paints that they were making with him for his sculptures, but he wasn't allowed to let anybody else use the paint, because obviously for proprietary reasons they had the whatever you have on a material, copyright or a trademark or something like that. They didn't want people to get hold of it. So when Stuart Semple made this, when you buy it, you have to sign an agreement that you won't let Anish Kapoor use any of this paint, and he's not allowed to buy it. So there's lots of videos of him with it, kind of wagging his finger back at them.
But really, how black is it? Like, how black is it?
Oh, it's really
how much blacker is it than black?
If you see videos of it, like they'll paint an object and they'll light it, and it will move around, and you can't really see the surfaces on it when it's moving. So I've painted a few things in here on it, and it does look a bit like there's holes in the wall. So I've been using it to paint inside the F holes of the guitars I'm making. Just it's really dark in there. I think that looks pretty cool. But yeah, you know, if you rub on it, it starts to chip a bit, or it scuffs up, and then it's not as absorbent in some ways.
I'm the same.
But I don't believe it's probably as black as the or as absorbent. Is that the right word? Non-reflective. I don't know what the scientific word is. As the one produced by that big company, that scientific company that Anish Kapoor worked with, but who knows? And by the way, Anish Kapoor is well known for making sculptures which often have really intense pigments in them, or distort your sense of space when you're looking at them. So the idea of a really absorbent black would work really well in his sculptures.
Interesting.
Oh, it's nanotubes that light goes into and can't escape from. Is that you're talking about the this is what's in the black 3.0, Owen? Anyway, yeah. I won't leave links to it. I don't have any affiliate links, but it's worth looking up what they do, because they do such interesting pigments that if you're looking for, as we often talk about, when you have the right bit of wood, it can inspire you to make something. I find sometimes the right pigments or colours or paints could do. And some of their pigments are designed to use in resin. So loads of us use resin in their guitars, so it might be something there that you could use. The pinkest pink pigment. They definitely do a glow in the dark one as well, actually. So maybe that's
yeah, I'd gotten a hold of some actual epoxy dye or resin dyes, small little things, assortment of colors, and then of course different mica colored dust too. So for my bones. Yeah, so I've tried epoxy filling these 3D printed bone outlines several times. It's hard to not have bubbles in there. It's been a little bit of a problem. So while I was doing the binding on this telly thing, I chopped up a bunch of it and put it in a little jar with some acetone and melted it and tried using that to fill one of those bones, and it went way worse. So I tried to do just a little bit at a time, because it would get bubbles in there too. So I tried, doing like thin layers at a time, but it's it's not like it goes in nice and smooth. You kind of gotta mash it in there. So, but I did get one that kind of relatively worked. So I'm still trying to track down the best way to fill one of those bones with something that's going to last, but be absolutely solid white. And it's been a frustrating journey that I still haven't, brought to conclusion.
That chamber, is what you need, Scott.
Yeah,
or he
vacuum chamber for my little tiny bone.
Yeah,
I'm
surprised you get bubbles in that. I think if maybe you're using the wrong resin, you can get really thin resins, right? Really liquidy.
I should look into something that's a little higher quality and isn't 5-minute epoxy.
Yeah.
You just seal
a little project. Didn't think it'd be that big of a deal, but turns out it's kind of hard to keep the bubbles out of it. So
there's a lot of people will seal what they're doing, what they're going to epoxy with, like thin epoxy to start off with as well, to try to. But I guess that's with wood that's got voids in it, little pits and everything.
It's a tiny little thing. I just need like a teaspoon of resin in there, just with no bubbles. It doesn't seem like it should be that hard to do that.
Yeah, I think like sometimes over stirring creates a little bit more bubbles too. So if I'm putting in the mica powder, I figure if I stir and I can see the mica powder distributed evenly, I'm done. I don't need to stir anymore. So I don't over stir. The other problem with 5-minute epoxy is here in Texas, it's like 1-minute epoxy.
Yeah.
Heat just makes it set faster.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've tried to do set up 3 or 4 of them. I just I put them on some masking tape. So and you mix them up real quick, and it'll be setting up before I get the 3rd or 4th one done.
Oh yeah,
it's fast.
That's like using shellac here.
It's not the best quality stuff, but I should do. I thought the melted binding would be fantastic, and not so much. I guess it's good for some patchwork, fill in cracks in your miter, stuff like that. Not so much for a bigger thing. With my big fat bone.
On that note, thank you everyone for being here. I think we should say goodbye because that's been quite a long chat. I really want to get Dan back because one of the things I found really interesting was his other channel of him traveling around America with his family and the idea of building guitars on the move when you've got a tiny workspace, what tools you use, how you can do that. So thanks for suggesting him, Corey, or getting in contact with him. That was brilliant.
I think Scott suggested it first, to be honest, in the group chat.
So as well as leaving a link to all our YouTube channels, etc. below, I'm going to leave a link to that video of you two collaborating together, which has now got 573,000 views.
Wow.
Not bad.
Corey's famous.
And 1,186 comments. And there's
570,000 people saying ask crack.
asking if you can build one for 30 quid or talk about Australian accents.
Good stuff.
I just want to thank everyone after last week. A couple more t-shirts sold, so that's great. So I hope we'll see some out in the wild. That would be brilliant. And like I said, all of that does help support doing this. I'll be setting up the audio podcast to go live in August. So when that happens, I'll be working out the best way to stream that all as well and where you can access it all. We'll see. And thanks as well to Dave, who had to drop out because of his audio. Dave and also Ray from Custom Unlimited Creations, who both became members of my channel. A new thing for me that I need to really promote and do something about so it becomes a bit more beneficial. Maybe there could be some special Guitar Builder Collective chat, although I hate having stuff like that behind a paywall. there's a few channels I listen to or podcasts I listen to where they trail ahead to their Patreon only bits, and I feel like if only I had enough money to become a patron of all of these podcasts that are so good. But there you go. And there you go. I'm asking people for money. So on that note, I'll shut up. So just in case anyone is around this weekend, the 20th of July in Brighton, there's the Brighton Guitar Show. It's the second year it's been running. It's quite a small show compared with some of the other shows around the country, but this year it's got quite a few bigger names as well as the kind of boutique builders. Chris Franklin's going to be there. Curtis is coming along as a guest, so it should be good fun. I'm not sure what I'm going to have there yet because I've got so much unfinished stuff that I might take with, but I've definitely got a couple of new guitars and basses and those things I made out of table legs, which I'm calling devil bows for now. I'm hoping to get some people that know how to play like really well to try them out, see what they make of them.
You like a quartet?
Yeah, we could have a little jam.
That'd be cool.
Great. So thanks, Corey, Scott, Mark, and everyone in the chat. See you all soon.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Guitar Builders Collective is a group of like-minded people from all around the world at different stages of their guitar building journey. You can join us over on our forum to seek advice or share tips on guitar building processes, materials and tools, or just to share your builds. On YouTube, we have a regular podcast of guitar building chat where you can join the live stream or watch back on past episodes. Our Instagram page shares posts of members' builds and links you direct to their accounts. And for those of you on Facebook, we've got a private group that you can join, share and chat along with. The Guitar Builders Collective is a welcome and open space for all, so do pop by and say hi.
Something's going wrong with my internet today.
Yeah, I didn't hear Dave being all glitchy, but it sounded like he was moving his desk for a while.
Sounded like he was moving his house for a while.
I think we still might be live.